Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today you're on an excursion in a forest in Ireland when suddenly someone yells, "I've seen a gnome!" Now, a magical wave of greed controls your mind, and the only thing that matters is getting the gnome's pot of gold at any cost, so you must guide yourself from the correct signs on the way to get it. Gnomistic is for 1 to 6 players. It takes 65 to 90 minutes to play. It's for ages 14 and up and published by B Gamer. Now it's on Kickstarter right now, so I'm going to show you how the game works, and I'll see you on the other side. This is a Kickstarter preview, so all the art and components you see here are not final, they're prototypes. To see all the most up-to-date art and components, check the link in the description of this video. Now I'm going to be showing you the strategic mode of this game, and at the very end I'll show you a little bit about what the family mode is. Each player has its own player board, and over the course of the game you're trying to get cards into your chests, mostly by collecting sets. At the end of the game, many of your cards are going to be scoring you positive points for each of them in certain sets, but some of them will be negative points, so you'll be getting, hopefully, a total amount of points from cards. You'll also be getting points, 1 for every 2 coins, and you'll also be getting points for different clovers you're able to get throughout the game, and depending on how many you have, and depending on how many players you're playing with, like if you don't get any in a 3 to 4 player game, you'll be losing 10 points, but you'll be getting points as you get these at the end of the game as well. The game is played in clockwise manner, and on your turn, you must make one of these 4 actions, which are essentially contributing to gnome paths, saving your collection into your chest, manipulating a gnome path, or performing a special action. So let's talk about some of these. Now, as I mentioned, you're trying to place cards as sets to be able to get them into your chest. Now, each player starts with cards. They can look at them, but they don't show them to anyone else. But these cards are not yours. You can't just place them down here. You have to go do different things in order to play them. And contributing to the gnome path, that action, is one way to do that. Now, to do that action, essentially you're going to add 2 different cards from your hands to 2 of the different 3 paths that are here. Now, if a path is empty or it has just a face down, you must add 1 there. That must be one of the 2 places you add. So maybe I add 1 here, and then maybe I add 1 here. The one path that I did not add cards to, I will take all of those cards. And then I'll replenish my hand by drawing 2 from the deck. Now, 2 of the cards I drew have point symbols on them, so they go to the left side of my board. And you're trying to collect sets. Like this one needs exactly 3 of this kind of card. This one needs 2 or more of this type of set. Now, both of them show a little positive clover there, and the 3rd card I got was this. This can essentially be used as a wild, so I could place it like this. And so now I have 2 of the 3 that I need here, or I could place it over here instead and actually have 2 or more. So this set is theoretically kind of completed. So we could do something like that, but you don't just complete the set now. There's different things that you need to do in order to try to get those into your chest. Now, at the end of that action, you're going to move this gnome here, and then every time someone does this, it's going to move further to the mushrooms to here. And once he gets back here, he's going to draw 3 cards, and you're going to put 1 face up on each of the paths. That helps seed the paths up again. Now again, you're only taking 1 of these actions on your turn, then it's the next player's turn. But let's say in your next action, you wanted to collect this set into your chest. You have to pay 3 gold. Now, everyone starts with gold, and you'd put it 3 in the pot, for example, and then you'd be able to take that action. Now again, we configure these sets, and once you configure them, by default, you can't move them around or change them, but you will be able to add to them, but you can't rearrange cards and such. Now this one, I needed 2 or more, and I have it because I have a wild in this. So I could score this set. Now you could score as many as you want. If I had 3 of these cards, I could score both of these sets and do that. But in this case, I could score this set. Now this is only worth 1 point, and the wilds are not worth any points, but they help you finish the sets later. So you might want to wait a little longer and get more cards and get more points here. But as you'll see, not everything is going to stay the way you see. Different cards are going to be attracting. Some cards might attract this away. There's things like that. So it's a little bit of a pressure your luck when you want to score. But let's say we did that. We want to score this. We would take these cards from this set. And again, you could take any sets that are completed, and I'm going to put them in my chest. Essentially, they are in there, and by default, you can never look at what's in your chest. Now, when gaining cards, sometimes they'll have this icon. This means they go here. They have special effects. This needs 2 or more of these, but it can use a positive clover wild, which is sitting here. So let's say before we were able to put these in our chests, this card ended up going here. Well, this can immediately affect this because it has this here. It will actually, like a magnet, put this over here, and now it has its to it, and this is going to absolutely trigger right now, which essentially in this case, a lot of these have like little mini games. In this case, you just roll the die, and then you get that many coins. And then those cards will be discarded to the board. So now let's talk about manipulating a gnome path that costs 2 gold. Now this allows you to try to get certain cards out of a path and not all of them. Because like here, there's 2 negative cards. I wouldn't want to take this whole path by taking one of those early actions. This one, if I end up taking this, it would trigger and it would give me -2 points. Or when this one goes in my area, if it has 2 or more of these and it triggers, I'd have to pay money to the supply, the pot of gold. I don't want to do that, but I do want these 2. So I would roll the die, and if it's this many cards, which is 4 or less, I can manipulate it. If it isn't, meaning if I rolled a 5 or 6, my turn would just end and I wouldn't be able to do anything. Now, depending on what this die's rolled, 2 means I can manipulate 2 cards. So this means up to 2 cards I can take and put in my play area, or just leave them there, or discard them. But 2 would be perfect for me, because I would take these 2 here and I would put them in my area. So it's great because I could add this one to this. I just need 1 more to complete that set, and I would start another set over here. Now when taking that action, you flip this over, and that just means next turn you won't be able to take that action again. So at the beginning of your next turn, you would just flip this over after you've pretty much taken a different action. Now before your mandatory action, you can exchange cards for gold with cards that have this symbol on them, and you can turn 1, 2, or 3 cards in to the discard pile and get that gold before you take your mandatory action if you want. And that is denoted by here on your player card. Now, amongst doing all these, there's also some special actions you can take. Now, to take a special action, you just spend a coin to do so. Now, one of them is you can reorganize your play area, because normally I mentioned that you cannot move things around once they're placed. But look at this, I have a set of 4. The wild is one of them, but I ended up getting an additional one. This can't go here because it only can have 4. Here's an additional one, so it's its own set. And I can reorganize this to be able to put this like this, because now this is a set, 2 or more, and I can put this here, and now this is a set. It's a little more efficient use of my cards. You can move the gnome meeple. If you move them on any of the flower or the mushrooms, it does nothing, but if you move it here, remember 3 cards are going to be going 1 in each of the different paths there. Now you can play a special action card. These are here on this part of your board, and again, you got to spend a coin to do this action. And these cards do all sorts of different things. There's many of these different cards. Some of them do like a full-blown mini game that you sort of stop and you sort of play a mini game with the other players. Or there might be something simple, like take a card from your hand. Remember, the cards in your hand aren't really yours. You can't play them anywhere. This allows you to break that rule and place this in your play area, or you can get some gold, for example. So this allows you to do all sorts of different things, break rules of the games, or even play little mini games. Another special action is you can get a clover chip. To do that, you discard any 2 cards from your play area. So maybe these 2 aren't part of sets, and I'm willing to get rid of these. Those get discarded. And I get to take one of these clovers. Now let's say at this point my board looked like this. I could add this to here to be a wild, which means essentially it would be a second here. This set would be done. Or I can place it here. And that's important. As I showed you at the beginning, these clovers are going to be worth minus points if you don't get any, and positive points the more you get at the end of the game. So players will continue taking turns until the end of the road card is drawn, and that means basically you're going to finish the round out. The players have equal turns, and then you go to final scoring. And again, you're going to go through your chest and get up all the points from there. You're going to look at your clovers and get points from there, and a point for each 2 coins. Whoever has the most at the end is the winner. Now there's a family version of the game. There's a different setup. It ends differently, and you actually have less cards in your hand, so there's less to think about. But the action of contributing to the paths changes is you draw a card, and then you play any of the cards in your hand to one of the paths. If one's empty, you still have to play there, but if they're not all empty, you can play to any one of them, and if you create a pair, you get to collect all these cards, and you'll resolve these just as I showed in the other version. Now there's an expansion called the Goblins Track, and it comes with this pink Goblin meeple. Now when you take the Performer special action, and you choose to move the Gnome meeple, let's say you move it to here, you get to take this, whether it's on the board or whether it's on somebody else's board. And that goes on your board near the clovers. Now, anytime you take the action of to save your collection to your chest, meaning you're putting cards into your chest here, you'll get to draw some pot cards. If you have the Goblin meeple, you'll draw 2. If you don't have it, you'll draw 1. Now you'll be drawing from this new deck. When you do that, you'll be able to look at them, but you'll put them secretly below your board or underneath your board. At the end of the game, you're going to take all the coins left that were in the pot and divide it into 3 equal sets. 2 of those 3 are going to be the major reward. The smallest one is going to be the minor reward. Everyone's going to flip over all of these cards from the expansion, and you're going to add the number of pots and multiply it by the number of goblins. And that's your total. And whoever has the most is going to get all these coins. Second most is these. And these are going to go towards final scoring because remember, each set of 2 coins is worth a point. Also, if you have the pink goblin at the end of the game, he adds 2 virtual clovers to your total amount. So it can give you some points that way too. And the expansion adds more cards that you mix into the deck when you're constructing the deck at the beginning of the game, giving you more mini-games, more special actions, and more immediate things that may happen. Well, there you have Gnomistic, and as I showed in the overview, it's a competitive game of tactics, strategy, hand management, and set collection that has strategic and family modes of play, as well as expansion. Now, if you'd like to see the most up-to-date art and components and all the different pledge levels available, you can click the link below me in the description of this video. Now, that's going to take you directly to the Kickstarter project page, and I'm sure that B Gamer would love your support.